Often when people are moving to or even within California, they're choosing between one of three places: the Bay Area, Los Angeles, or San Diego. Today, we're going to look at the Bay Area and San Diego. Now, I've lived in both places, so I'm going to bring in my own personal perspective and give you guys some information that will hopefully make it a little easier for you to decide if you are choosing between one of these two places. Hi, I'm Allison. I am a real estate agent here in beautiful San Diego, California with GEA Broker. I am a born and raised Southern Californian, and I've lived all over the state. I was born in Santa Monica, I went to high school in Santa Barbara, I went to college in San Diego, and then I ended up living in the Bay Area for a good long time after college as well, before coming back down to San Diego eventually. Because I've experienced so much of the state, I think I have some unique perspectives and some interesting insight that will hopefully be helpful as you are making some decisions yourself. So let's dive in. Today, we're going to look at 9 different areas and how they compare between the Bay Area and San Diego. And hopefully those will give you enough information so that you can make the decisions that you need to make. The first one is location and kind of demographic information. So of course, San Diego is located at the very bottom of the state. We are bordered by Mexico to the south and Orange County to the north and Riverside County to the northeast. And San Diego is very much considered a coastal community or coastal city. Now, that being said, it's a really big county. So it's over 4,000 square miles. And that means if you are on the eastern edge of the county, you're actually not that close to the coast. However, you aren't really usually more than 30 minutes to the coast, unless there's really bad traffic. And then maybe it's 45. But really, you're not that far no matter where you are in the county. Now, San Diego is a pretty big place. There's over 3 million people here, and you can find any style of living you're looking for, from downtown high-rise living to really kind of rural, farm lifestyle. You can find it all and everything in between. Now, the Bay Area is very similar in a lot of ways. It is a bigger area. It is over 7,000 square miles, and it has about twice as many people, over 7 million, and it's made up of 9 different counties instead of just one, but it has a lot of variety as well. One thing that is different though is that the Bay Area, where you're likely to live, isn't as coastal. It's not the same type of beach communities where you're going to the beach all the time. So San Francisco, yes, is on the beach, but it's cold. Those beaches are cold. If you're in Pacifica or Half Moon Bay, yes, again, the beach, but again, it can be cold. And while people do live there, it's a good commute from there into kind of where you're going to be working. Whereas in San Diego, you can actually live on the coast and be really close to work. So a little bit different there. In the Bay Area, you are more likely to live closer to the bay. However, even then, unless you're in San Francisco or maybe some parts of the East Bay, a lot of what's on the bay is actually more industrial type stuff than actual residential. There's a couple of spots, but a lot of it is just, you're just kind of living in the Bay Area. You're not necessarily hanging out on the bay, and you're not necessarily at the coast. Obviously, the Bay Area is also in Northern California. And one of the things that makes it very different from San Diego is the weather. So our second thing is the weather. The Bay Area is much colder than San Diego. I went to college in San Diego. I grew up all over Southern California. And when I moved to the Bay Area, I had to get a completely new wardrobe. I did not own wool coats. I didn't know how to layer and to dress with tights under your pants and all of that. It can get cold up there. So I had to basically buy a whole new wardrobe. Back when I lived there, tall boots were in. That was not something you would have worn in Southern California ever back then. But I bought them when I moved to San Francisco. So definitely a different place with different weather. So that's probably one of the bigger differences that you will find between the two areas is really the weather. San Diego, pretty temperate all year round. You know, it doesn't get super hot unless you're inland, but it also doesn't get super cold. The Bay Area, it's not like it's snowing, but it gets cold. Like, it's just colder. Definitely a different, keep it in mind. The Bay Area also has more rain, which means there's a lot more trees. You'll definitely see a difference when you go up there. There are a ton more trees. Down in San Diego, it's much more like a desert, much more shrubbery, fewer trees. The Bay Area, like, it's green. It's very pretty. There's a lot of trees, so very different that way. And that's because they do get more rain than we do down here in San Diego, which also means that outdoor activities are different in both places. And that leads us to our third category, which is outdoor activities. So one of the big differences is that in San Diego, it can be hard to hike in the summer in San Diego. So we do a lot of our hiking in the winter, or either very early in the morning or like around sunset, so that it's cooler, because there is no shade here. Like, if you're hiking, you are pretty much exposed to everything because there just aren't a lot of trees. In the Bay Area, even if it's really hot out, you can go and hike in the trees, in the woods. It's very nice and shaded. It's beautiful. I much prefer hiking in the Bay Area to San Diego. I will say, similarly, if you're mountain biking, it's going to be a similar thing. You can have shade in the Bay Area. You're not going to have it here, but you're also going to have to deal with more rain, right? So it might be a little wetter up there. You might have more days where you can't hike as easily if you don't want to get wet or whatever. So, you know, there's some trade-offs there, but I would say for me, hiking is better up there than down here. That being said, I feel like down here, hiking is like a major pastime. People are definitely still doing it. You just have to like plan ahead and be prepared and like know how to not have issues with the heat and to like be safe in it. Also in San Diego, you're going to see a lot more snakes, because it is hotter, so you are going to see a lot more of those and have to be aware of those as a challenge if you are hiking, especially in the summer. And for water sports, I would say San Diego definitely wins out. We have Mission Bay, we have the beach. There's a ton of water sports to do here. Yes, San Francisco has that, but I would say the bay in San Francisco is a whole different bay, right? It's a very large exposed bay. It's super choppy. It's more like rough seas. It's not like a paddleboarder's paradise, whereas Mission Bay is a paddleboarder's paradise. It's super calm, it's completely flat, like basically anybody can paddleboard there. So it's a different kind of like water sport world to be in San Diego versus the Bay Area. And then of course, cycling is massive in the Bay Area. I definitely see it down here in San Diego as well. There are definitely a lot of cyclists also, but there's not much, I think, that compare to cycling in the Bay Area. It's a way of life there. It is huge in like Portola Valley and stuff like that. Like, it's a cyclist paradise. So I don't think you can really compare there, but there is cycling in both places. Or I think the Bay Area probably wins out on that one, just by a little bit at least. Okay, from a things to do standpoint, other than the outdoor activities, there is a lot to do in both locations, but I'm gonna say that San Diego is the winner on this one. I feel like there is just more stuff here. There's stuff in San Francisco and there's stuff in San Jose, but it's not the quantities that are here in San Diego. For example, Balboa Park alone has 18 museums in one park. That's in San Diego. The Bay Area, it does not have that. Like, Golden Gate Park does not have 18 museums you can go to. So that like comparison is different. The San Diego Zoo and the San Francisco Zoo, they both exist. The San Diego Zoo is world renowned. The San Francisco Zoo is a great zoo, but it's not the San Diego Zoo. We do have theme parks in both places. We have SeaWorld down here. We have Great America up there. There are a lot of similarities in that way, but I just feel like the quantity of things and the variety of things here in San Diego beats out the Bay Area. But that being said, the Bay Area kicks our butt when it comes to sports. San Diego has the Padres and the Wave, which is women's soccer, and we will have a men's soccer team come 2025. That's pretty much it. We don't really have a lot of college sports. We do have San Diego State. They give us some. UC San Diego's got no football. The The Bay Area has a ton of sports teams, including the San Francisco Giants, the San Francisco 49ers, the Oakland A's, the San Jose Sharks, the Golden State Warriors, the San Jose Earthquakes, and they're going to get a women's soccer team. So if you are a sports fan, definitely the Bay Area wins out. They also have a lot more college sports going on. I mean, the Cal-Stanford rivalry is very well known and has been going on for decades and decades and decades. So if you want the sports thing, stick with the Bay Area. Jobs is another area where the Bay Area is going to win out. So obviously, Bay Area, Silicon Valley, synonymous with one another. So all of the tech companies are headquartered up there. Now, that being said, especially since the pandemic, but even starting before that, many tech companies have started to move down here. So we have Google, we have Apple, HP's always been down here. We have Amazon down here. So there's a lot that have been moving down here. And obviously a lot of people can work remotely now, which makes things a lot easier. But the headquarters are still all really based in the Bay Area. There's a lot more companies up there. So from that standpoint, they still do win out from a jobs perspective. San Diego does have a lot of biotech. We have logistics. We have military up the yin yang here, which is not something the Bay Area as focused on. So there are definitely differences depending on kind of what you're doing with your life and what kind of jobs you have. That was probably going to make a big difference of which spot you end up in. But if you're like in high tech and you just want to make sure you always have a job, the Bay Area might be a better place unless you know that you can always get a remote job, which usually in high tech isn't that hard. And actually, it's the lack of jobs that had been keeping San Diego affordable forever, really up until the pandemic. And once people were able to kind of move wherever they wanted, that has led to a lot of the price increases in housing that we've seen here in San Diego, is because now we have jobs, because the jobs can go wherever the people go. And people would rather be here with the perfect weather and the beach than in the Bay Area. And in fact, San Diego was just rated the most expensive place in the country. I've been having trouble believing that, but I started digging into rents in both places and did find that San Diego tends to be higher. So here's some data for you. Redfin is showing that the median rent in San Francisco is $3,350 versus $3,200 in San Diego. So San Francisco is more expensive. We all know that. Like, there's no way San Diego is going to beat San Francisco. But I decided to compare San Jose to Carlsbad, which is, kind of a suburb of San Diego that, might be considered kind of similar, even though Carlsbad, I would say, is way, way better. But San Jose, the median rent is $3,100, whereas in Carlsbad, it's $3,750. So yeah, Carlsbad's way more expensive. I then decided to look kind of east. So Oakland is the East Bay, and their rent is $2,366 versus I compared Escondido, which is east, and that's $2,550. So even Escondido is more expensive than Oakland, which really surprised me. That was not something I was expecting to find. So yes, San Diego has gotten rather expensive, especially from a rent standpoint. Interestingly, though, from an overall affordability standpoint, San Diego is still less expensive. In fact, San Diego is less expensive than both San Jose and San Francisco by a pretty good amount. It's over 15% lower to live in San Diego than San Jose, and 24% lower cost of living to live in San Diego than San Francisco. So while yes, rents may be higher in San Diego, the overall cost of living, so that's going to be the gas and the food and the utilities and all of that, is less down here. And you get the better weather. So I'm going to say point in favor of San Diego. Maybe they're kind of even on the cost of living. I don't know. Now I'm going to talk about schools, but very briefly, because there's no good way to summarize schools in two very different places. So what I'm going to share with you is this. San Diego spends less per student than both San Jose and San Francisco. The student to teacher ratio is also higher in San Diego than both San Jose and San Francisco. If you look at the US News and World Report best high schools in California, 3 of the top 10 are in the Bay Area, whereas only 1 of the top 10 is in San Diego. That being said, you can find fantastic schools in both locations. Okay, next I'm going to touch on the restaurant scene, but I am just going to say the San Francisco's the winner on this one. I'm sorry, San Diego. Love you dearly, but I mean, I haven't lived in the Bay Area since 2012, and even back then, it was amazing and like could kick almost any city except New York's butt. So I'm going to say it's still going strong. It's still the winner. And one thing that we can look at to prove that is San Diego has 3 Michelin star restaurants, whereas the Bay Area has 4 4-star Michelin restaurants. So that's just the 4-star ones. They have a bunch of lower star ones as well. Bay Area definitely wins on the restaurant scene. There's just so much good food up there. San Diego's working on it. We're trying. You know, I think it's improving every year, but we got a long way to go to get anywhere near the Bay Area. Finally, the 9th category is traffic. I'm gonna say San Diego wins on this one, hands down. Bay Area traffic can just be hellacious. I once had it take me 2 hours to get from San Jose to San Francisco, and that was a really, really, really long time ago. I mean, it was probably 15 years ago. I can't imagine that it's gotten better since then. San Diego, like, the traffic's just not that bad. I've lived in the Bay Area, I've lived in LA, and now even after living in Atlanta, where they just can't drive to save their lives, I would drive in San Diego traffic any day of the week. Even when I look at the traffic and I'm like, oh my God, like I don't really want to drive through that. It's usually not that bad, except driving to downtown. Like the traffic through downtown can get really, really bad. I know there are a couple other spots that can get really bad too. I don't luckily have to drive in them very often, but for the most part, San Diego traffic's just way better. Yeah. So if that's important to you, avoid the Bay Area. Okay, that's what I've got for you today. Was that at all helpful? If so, would you give this a thumbs up so other people can find it? Do you have any other questions, anything that I didn't cover that you wish I had? Comment below and let me know so I can answer those questions for you. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click the little bell so that you get notified when I put out new content.